Welcome to Planet Mavericks. It's been a while since we met at the GIS and last in Singapore. Welcome back.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
So, Stavros, what do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about impact forestry, which is very close to my heart and very close to our firm. The population is growing. The needs for paper to replace plastic there's a much bigger need for anything coming out of trees, but there are not enough trees. So my big theme is how can we plant more trees? How can we create a better world creating a social impact as well as environmental impact and creating new forests around the world? And the dream is to be able to plant about 500,000 hectares over the next 5, 6 years and create sustainable forests that help local communities provide environmental impact and have a social and environmental footprint that's better for all of us.
I think it could be larger than many countries, definitely larger than where I am in Singapore.
500,000 hectares, yes. Actually, we are planting every year more trees than Singapore has. So we're planting every year about 15,000 hectares, which is pretty much the size of 200 football stadiums a day. So that's the amount of forest we are building on a daily basis. We're focusing in South America, but we are expanding in other places around the world where the climatic conditions and the soil is the right thing. So Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and South America. But for now, we're focusing South America. When you have a forest, usually you don't have big cities or anything sustainable. So you provide education, training, and constant jobs. In Paraguay, actually, we have created 3,000 direct jobs. Usually, most of these people have a seasonal job. So they go to collect soya or rice or anything like that for a couple of months. We provide 12-month contracts. We pay twice above the minimum wage, and we provide also equal pay between men and women. And we train them for the forest and after the forest how to process wood. So land which hasn't been a forest, different degraded land. Usually it's land was used more for animals, but you might have one cow every 200 hectares or something. So it's nothing that. But what we're trying to do is we try to plant forests after we take care, make sure the water is right, the soil is right, and we take care of the environment, the biodiversity and all these things. And we set aside 30% that land to create as natural reserve. And actually, we have created the biggest natural reserve in Paraguay of grassland. We plant trees so we can harvest them and use the wood across different types of industries. Some of it will be paper, some of it will be for construction. We buy the land, and we prefer to buy the land because you can make sure that all the biodiversity, all the environmental, and all the standards you have to put, they will be applied. One of the critical things actually for all this is because of the climatic conditions and there a lot of water. We have for example, a lot of people don't know it, but Paraguay, you have the biggest concentration of clear water in the world. It has more water than all the lakes of North America combined. Our trees grow a meter a month. Okay, so to give you a comparison, a tree in Scotland or in Oregon or in Sweden grows 10 centimeters a year. Okay, where a meter a month. Okay, so our cycle is 6-7 years, where a cycle in Scotland or Canada will be 35-40 years. What this means is you absorb more CO2, you have the ability to produce more wood, which can be used to replace other materials like cement, concrete, iron, all these things. What you need to have on top of that, though, you make sure you have a stable government, you have all the logistics correct, because after you produce the wood, what do you do with it? But the first thing is you sell the wood, correct? So the issue thing you have 4 or 5 cycles of wood when others have one. So you can use the bulk of the tree to make paper. You can use the branches of the tree to make green methanol. And on top of that, recently, or the last years, you also have carbon credits. So carbon credit is on top of that. So you can make healthy returns of about 15 to 20% net by all these things I told you. And all this from on a US dollar base. So this is not taking currency risk and things like that, which can have an impact on this.
But the cash flows must take time, right? Because when you're starting out, it's bare. I mean, that a lot of work needs to go into the land itself, say year 6 or 7, and then continues for another, let's say 20, 30 years, right? You need long-term contracts. You need also some offtake on the wood locally, a lot of job creation. So a lot of work upfront.
And that's why a lot of people promise and few people do it. And that's
Yeah.
why, as we are doing it, correct? The J curve, as in every real assets investment, it
Yeah.
is 3 to 4 years, correct? And as you said, you have to build to buy the land, you have to build infrastructure, roads, bridges. You have the land, you own the land, you own the trees. This is a hard asset which you own. And this makes a big difference. People don't realize how much wood product they use in their lives. And as middle class globally is growing, the demand for basic toilet paper, kitchen roll is growing.
Okay.
The need for wood produced products is huge, and people don't realize the clothes we're wearing, the clothes you and I are wearing, are full of plastic clothes and all these things. If we want to go into sustainable world and we have to replace all this by something produced from natural fiber, then we need trees. And we have a lot of fashion designers now, a lot of people asking to produce fiber out of trees because
Right.
few people realize that fashion actually is one of the biggest pollutants in the world, correct?
Absolutely.
Because of this quick fashion of every 2 months producing a new season and a new season and a new season, and all these clothes and shoes and hats and all these things getting into this, it creates a horrible situation. Steep J curve, stable income for a long time with high returns. And I think it's a great product if you wrap it up on on a structure that takes away a lot of the risks. And that's why we did it in a form of a fund.
Okay.
So you don't have to have a local Uruguayan, Indonesian company. You have it in a structure which is a much more tested environment. They're investing on a fund which invests in Paraguay. On this project, we have investors from more than 30 countries, 5 continents. We have from Australia to Canada and from Sweden to Brazil, correct? So this shows the interest, the global interest of people for sustainable real assets, practical sustainable real assets. You see a lot of people trying to build museum forests, I call them. So they say, we just go and build a forest that cannot be used, cannot be touched. The problem with that is that the locals need to have jobs. The locals need to have land to produce food. The local needs to, they don't, it's much more profitable for them to go and taking down the forest and start produce soya.
So how does the structure work?
So, yeah, most of the land, basically, it was owned by individuals and families, correct? Hawaii is the size of California with 6 million people, correct? So you can imagine how much land exists. So we have a fund structure, and the fund, which means the shareholders of the fund, the investors own the land. We have a JV agreement with a very experienced team from Sweden, which they are doing forestry for many decades in many different parts of the world, from the Nordics to Southeast Asia to South America, and they have the experience in local experience in South America for the last almost 20 years. So they are the local team, which are the foresters, the experts on land planning, all these type of things. And this team organizes and buys and uses local contractors to be able to plant the land, cut the trees, trade the trees, do the whole thing. So we as a starter are offering the institutional framework and the capital formation, and the Swedish team, the local presence, flat land with very good land titles, very fertile, with very good infrastructure with 2 rivers, which means you can carry the wood or the pulp up and down from Uruguay to Brazil to Argentina to all these places. And it has a clear legal system, the stable government. And it's also interesting that you have great infrastructure now built in order to be able to transfer all these products. So it makes good. That's why the returns are high.
I can see the interest, and also you have optionality to enter many different kinds of agribusiness in the future. So now As you're going forward, where are you on this whole journey with Paraguay?
I would say we are midway. We were targeting to raise initially 200 million. We ended up raising 325 million, which was oversubscribed, as you can imagine. And actually now we are raising a second tranche for that for another 300 million.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we will be by end of the year about 650 to 700 million equity of
Okay.
land. So we believe the area, the region, and all of this for us will be about 150 to 200,000 hectares. We believe there's an opportunity that someone like us can go up to 500,000 hectares.
Yeah.
So I would consider we are at the middle, but I would also say that the first steps are more difficult to put the right team, to prove that you can do it, to find the right type of trees, to find the right type of structures. We spent 10 years of planning. Actually, now we're having our first carbon credits come out. We're selling the first wood. We ship the first wood out to pulp mills. So it's all happening.
The wood, do you also label it something sustainable? Is it premium priced?
It's premium price because people are very sensitive now. The fact that you have an environmental impact, the fact that you have good quality wood, which you can use from making furniture all the way to pulp, means that you have all this type of diversity. And also, people care now about the social impact.
You raised 325, now you're looking at another 300 now, right? So you're
Yeah.
getting to 600 million. And this is for the 200,000 hectares. Is that
Yes.
correct? Can you just explain how do investors make money here?
There are different sources of the returns. The first is obviously from the land, because you buy land which is degraded and you upgrade it, which usually comes at the end. But there's a lot of good cash flow during the investment, which comes from processing the wood, selling the carbon credits, selling all these type of products. So immediate cash flow is coming regularly from all this. And actually carbon credits, we can deliver them to our investors both in cash but also in kind. So if someone wants to keep it for their own farm or their own personal use, they can have it. And for the first fund, to give you an idea, we're talking about 80 million tons of carbon credits. So this is pretty much, I think, all flights from Heathrow to the US for 3 years, something like that. So this is a significant amount of carbon credits. But cash flow, we have positive cash flow immediately. And you have obviously the appreciation of land, since you take degraded land and you create something which is very profitable.
Right. Thanks for that. I just want to know, you are also working with the governments, because I know you were in Singapore for some reason. Maybe you want to share that.
You have to spend significant into infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because what you imagine, you buy degraded land, there's no roads in there, there's no water infrastructure, there's nothing. So you have to build hundreds and hundreds of roads, miles of roads, which basically they need to be also good quality, because you need to have heavy trucks to go and take the wood. So you cannot create muddy roads that trucks cannot go through, and bridges. So the infrastructure component is very important. The advantage we have is the land is flat. If you have 200,000 hectares, you cannot hope that God will help you and there will be no fire. The reality is you need to plan. And you need to have to use the satellites. You need to have the latest technology to prevent this. Also, you need to make sure you prevent from wind, diseases, all these type of things. So for all this, you have to build. You have to put in infrastructure. So most of the capital goes into that. But even with that, you are allowed to, through the carbon credits, through the sale of the wood, through the sale of the remain of the tree, you have the ability to achieve this type of returns I mentioned before, between around 20% net, which I think which is very high for forest.
What kind of period are you looking at for the fund?
Usually we're looking to exit within 10 years, I would say. But for the second fund, we'll exit, everything will exit together, which means we sell it to someone who wants to build the plantations or a pension fund, or that will be 6, 7 years, which is one rotation really. So you have the first trees coming out and you have the first sale of the wood plus the carbon credits plus all this. We found out that the best operators for equipment are women. And because they're more careful than men. And now we're training a lot of women, which usually they didn't have many works to do, to be managers of equipment, heavy equipment.
So where's the fund at the moment?
The fund is a typical Cayman structure. And for YPOs, what we do is we offer a significant discount on fees. So if anyone wants to participate on that, we can offer up to 15-20% discount of fees. YPOs care. They're businessmen, which means they need returns, they like returns, but they care to get the right returns. And in order for us to reward them, we wanted to offer them the opportunity to participate on something which is institutional size, but we try to offer it also to YPOs for a smaller version.